Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Alinda Mashiku from ExcelliSpace, where we are empowering dreams and engineering futures. We'll be covering a topic today called mentorship by design, where we will go over a structured and intentional approach to mentoring success. A lot of us have gone through school, college, early careers in our jobs, and we hear a lot about mentoring. But how do you go about finding a good mentor? What is mentoring? And how do we ensure that we're actually successful after we complete a mentorship program? So, we're going to cover all of that today. And so, the agenda for our talk today will go over a quick introduction. I'll introduce myself, who I am, what I do, and why am I doing this. And then we'll define what is mentoring and talk about different ways on how to connect with a mentor, how to set up a strategic session planning, and specific steps towards implementation so your mentoring session is successful. Okay, so my academic background is in aeronautical and astronautical engineering from Purdue University, where I got both my master's and PhD, and I got my bachelor's from The Ohio State University. So I've gone to school for a very long time. And so I consider myself a STEM expert turned career strategist, and I do this, on the side, just trying to help out people who are reaching out to me asking for advice and guidance. So I'm like, let's put it all together in a package and share with the world. So I've been at NASA for about 13 years as an aerospace engineer and technical program manager. I've worked on many missions and I lead the CARE program. And our main charter or goal for our program is to provide satellite collision avoidance services to NASA's satellites. I am also an AI and ML expert. I enjoy doing R&D work in space operations using AI and ML. So I spent about 18 years mentoring students from high school all the way through PhD. I've sat on dissertation committees. I've run several STEM workshops. And so my goal is dedicated towards closing the gap between where you are today and where you want to go from an academic and or early career perspective. So you have specific goals that you want to achieve. And so how do you put together a solid career development plan with tools that could be used in your journey as you're finishing up your college education and looking forward to your career? So, mentoring is a big part of knowing where you are and knowing where you want to go, hence the rest of the details of this course. So, let's jump right in. Okay, so there'll be four key takeaways of this course. The first, we will want to go over understanding what trips up most of mentoring relationships and how to sidestep it. We will discuss how to find, approach, and connect with the right mentor. We'll go over how to prepare so that every session that you have with your mentor counts. And lastly, we'll talk about how to build a mentoring relationship that creates real and lasting results. Okay, so what is mentoring? Mentoring can be defined as a structured and intentional relationship between a guide and a learner that is built to accelerate growth, typically in the right direction, because that's what you really want. Mentoring is very different from coaching. Coaching, you're typically going to a person who has specific skills and expertise in an area that you want to learn from them. And so they will tell you what to do so that you can meet those specific expectations or requirements within that field. Mentoring is different. Mentoring is having a person who's been where you want to go, and they provide that long term guidance on your growth, career trajectory, and big decisions. And so you get to provide them with a picture and a goal of what you want to do, and they're there to provide you with guidance or help you make sure that you're asking the right questions for the goals that you want. So, mentoring and coaching typically differ in terms of duration, focus, agenda, and approach. And so, why is mentoring important? Again, you always are coming from a place that says, point A, you're going to point B or Z. When you're at point A, you're either learning, probably in school, or doing, you're working at a job, and you want to go to point Z, which is your final step, where you want to achieve your goals and succeed in your academic journey or career. And that path it's almost never a straight line. And so you want to make sure that you understand as you're deviating, are you still on the right course? You're always going through an unknown territory. You're going to a place where you've never been before. And so it's helpful to have someone who knows what to expect and to tell you not to be surprised by whatever it is that you end up encountering. And again, having a mentoring relationship is very important because you typically don't know what to avoid throughout your journey. And that can sometimes cost you, right? It can cost you money, it can cost you time, and all those are things that we don't want to, incur. And so having a mentor helps you know that you're not alone and there's a hope in terms of where you want to go. All right. So, what makes mentoring daunting? There are so many lists in terms of folks who've tried mentoring and they sometimes think that it doesn't work, but there are many, many reasons. And I'm going to go through a few of these in a minute here. But overall, if you have a solid structure in place and you know where you are, even if you don't know where you are, just knowing that you don't know where you are is the first step. And so, the first step you want to do is define where you are and define where you want to go. And then everything in between becomes an exercise of working with your mentor to get to define what are the activities and steps you need to do to get you from point A to Z. So let's talk about the top 8 things that make mentoring daunting. Okay, so the first one is having no clear structure or goals. So a mentoring relationship needs to have a concrete structure or clear objectives so that you can know what your purpose is. You don't want to waste time where you end up undermining the value of that relationship. Number two is scheduling and consistency. When you put it on the calendar, make sure you're able to meet with your mentor. Typically, mentors are people who are very busy, and so them allocating their time to meet with you, you want to make sure that you're respecting their time and yours as well, and staying consistent towards activities and actions that you both agree upon working towards. Number three is mismatched expectations. And so not knowing exactly what the goal of that relationship is or what the purpose is can also compound with having misaligned expectations. And so you could always be meeting, but then you don't know what you're getting out of it. The mentor's not sure what they're exactly putting into it. And so having those clear interest, priorities, and goals helps to make sure you have expectations that are aligned between the mentor and the mentee. Number four, unhealthy relationship dynamics. A mentoring session is a treasured time between a mentor and a mentee. You want to make sure that you're sitting down to talk and discuss topics of interest that you've both agreed towards, that is towards a positive outcome. You don't want to use that time as a venting session, complaining about your boss or complaining about your peers. You can bring those up as challenges, but with a goal towards finding ways to solve them. And that helps to make sure that your relationship stays positive and towards specific outcomes. Number five, power imbalance. People always ask me many times, who's the right person to be your mentor? Should it be your boss? Should it be, someone who hired you? So you want to make sure the person that you're sharing your goals and dreams and achievement endeavors is someone who can take you there. And so making sure that you can also have that platform to have open and honest communication and growth. So both the mentor and the mentee should have that clarity that within this relationship, you can share your fears, you can share your concerns, you can be open and honest about your challenges and your goals in a way that does not end up hurting your performance goals or your current assigned tasks. Number six, poor mentor mentee matching. Same thing, kind of relates to number five. So want to make sure that your skills that you want to grow and develop, your personalities and your goals align well. So each time you meet, there's no frustration or disengagement. You both are well aligned. Number seven, trust and confidentiality. You do not want to breach confidentiality of trust between the mentor and mentee relationships. It's one of the fastest ways to derail otherwise a productive, pairing. So I want to make sure that anything that you've both agreed to talk about stays inside the room. You don't want to blast out, this is what my mentor said, and this is what she said to her boss or her peers or her colleagues. Can you believe it? Right? So that is not the goal. The goal is to learn from each other's mistakes and carve and define ways towards building a better you, right? And a better future. And last but not least, number eight, lack of preparation by the mentee. You want to make sure you're preparing for meetings adequately and focusing on those key issues. That is very, very critical. If you show up to a mentoring meeting without an agenda or clear questions, it's a waste of time again, right? So your mentor has set aside their time to meet with you. You want to make sure you're respecting that. All right, this is the fun part. So, connecting with a mentor. How do you go about finding one, reaching out to one, and connecting with a mentor? Let's jump right in. And so here I'm showing a picture of very famous people. We have the late Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Michelle Obama, Oprah, Mother Teresa, and Bill Gates. So imagine having a mentoring session with one of your favorite person from this list. How would you approach them towards setting up a 20-minute, 30-minute, an hour mentoring session with your favorite person on this list? The mistake that most of us tend to make is that when we think of these individuals, we just want to be them, right? We want to be them or we want to be like them. And so it can become really daunting or a little bit nerve wracking trying to think, how do I go about learning something valuable with this, with the shortest time that I might have with them? So I want to be thinking about what can I specifically learn from them that pertains to me in my life? Where am I right now? And where do I want to go? And when I look at these individuals, what inspiring anecdotes or information can they share with me so I can become the person that I want to be? Right? It's all about becoming your best version. So let's talk about that. All right. So you want to look for the right mentor for your stage, the stage that you're in. If you're a student, you want to go for an academic mentor. If you're a career person, you want to look for someone who's in your industry or an alumni. If you're a student, you could also look for an upper class student or a recent grad. That will be a peer mentor. Or life mentors. There's so many types of mentors out there. Ideally, you want to look for the person who is where you want to go, and then they will be able to meet the right expectations that you have. There's so many places where you can find a mentor. You could look for them in alumni networks, academic departments and faculty, campus career centers, mentorship programs. There's tons of those, professional associations, student clubs, and many, many more. Remember, when you're reaching out to a mentor, you want there's typically two general ways you can do that. You could do that in person or virtually. And you want to think about four main things. Number one, be specific. Name exactly why you're reaching out to them. Number two, be brief. Three short paragraphs max. Respect their time so they can actually get to read your email. Propose a format. Suggest a 20-minute meeting, meet and greet. State exactly what you're looking for and why they're the right person to meet up with you. And show effort, right? Reference their work and any kind of actions that you both agree on. Make sure you get those done before your next meeting. Generic messages tends to be ignored, so make sure you're very specific and you're clear in terms of what you want to get out of that mentoring meeting. And finally, how to build a mentoring relationship that creates real and lasting results. And so we'll go over the implementation. So we're going to kind of recap a little bit on all the things that we've covered. The main takeaway here is clarity. Be clear with what you want or what are your goals. Start big and then go small, or vice versa. You can start small and then go big. The idea is that this is an iterative process. You don't want to get stuck or you don't want to freeze. You want to make sure you're understanding where you are and where you want to go. Small picture, big picture, back to small picture, and iterate in between. And it's okay to have multiple mentors, right? It's not like you're cheating on them. So each individual mentor might have something unique and special to provide to you. So one could be a technical mentor that is teaching about all the technical work and understanding and knowledge that you need to have. The other one could be a mentor that you really value how they lead their team. So you want to learn from them everything there is to learn about leadership and leadership skills. The other one could be about communication, knowing and learning how to communicate complex topics in a simplistic way. That could be the goal for reaching towards that specific mentor. So there are many, many more. And so for every meeting and session that you have, send an agenda in advance. Have a clear ask or questions and summarize the actions that you both have agreed to and do them. And if possible, propose the next session's topic before you meet the next time. So for students, we've put together the MDR course, the Major Decision Review tool at ExcelliSpace. You can go to the website and you can download there's a free version and other paid versions or services that you can learn and go through your current major of choice. Many of us select majors not really knowing what the career outlook looks like and why exactly are you selecting this major and what does the current and future market outlook is set to be like by the time you graduate. And so having these set up questions and factors will be very helpful to you when you sit down to speak with your mentor at your school or with your family, to just kind of sit down and talk about your career goals, your academic aspirations, and also get to nail down your why. You don't want to select a major just because it sounds cool or it's exciting. That is a good factor to have, but you need to have other supporting factors to make sure that by the time you graduate, number one, you're happy, you're successful, you've learned a lot, you've challenged yourself, but then also that you're able to get a job, and a job that pays well, so you can support yourself at the same time making a difference. And for early careers, the same thing. We have a specifically designed course for early to mid career professionals called the PDP course, the Professional Development Plan, that is based on the READY process. We've coined that term. We love our acronyms over here. And so you go perform an introspective assessment of yourself. You review your strengths and your weaknesses, evaluating your personal values, devising and classifying your goals, initiating your career trajectory, and also implementing SMART development activities. SMART stand for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. And so there are free versions. There's a free course you can go and download and go and walk through a sample case. But ideally, you want to set up one for yourself. And the idea is that you'll set this one time. It takes maybe 10 or 20 minutes, depending on your vision. And then once you have this, you get to sit down with your mentor and go through, this is where I am today, this is where I see myself going in the future. And then you get to check the check boxes through each and every step that you complete in a very satisfying manner. And so if you don't put it down, you always hear what they say. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So download your PDP course today, and put down your plan and meet up with a mentor to help you set up what your future goals will look like. So, in conclusion, don't hope for a great outcome. You must design for one. Hope is great, but as I said earlier, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The students and early career professionals who grow fastest aren't the lucky ones who just happened to stumble upon a great mentor. They're the ones who had a process. So, writing down your goals, writing down your questions, even if you don't have goals, will help you get the clarity that you need. So you know where you are, you know where you're going. And yes, there'll be detours along the way, but at least you will know what they are and what your options are. And so I hope you found this very helpful. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel, and I look forward to creating more content and new content for you in the future. Send us your questions, any questions you have our way, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.